Hi everyone, it's Jay here, and today I'm going to review some of the manga and manhwa I read in December. I'm still a bit ill, so I'm sorry about my voice. Even though I was quite ill in December, I read 11 volumes. One of them was a BL standalone, another was a collection of short stories, and 3 were brand new series I had started. I started the month reading Fiancé Chosen by the Ring, volumes 1, 2 and 3. It starts off pretty funny, with Aurora minding her own business at a party, before getting absolutely smacked in the head by Ring. A knight called Felix declares her to be his bride, and that's how it all begins. I like that Aurora is highly skilled in her own rights with embroidery. She loves sewing and designs herself a dress that will stand out from the crowd. I really enjoyed this part of the story. The magic side of the story is a nice touch and throws a bit of a wrench into Aurora's and Felix's engagement, if that's the right word. This is a very low stakes fantasy romance manga. I say low stakes because at no point whilst reading this did I worry about the characters or feel stressed about any decisions that were being made. It is very much a story where you read and go with the flow. In a way, that's what made it enjoyable, because it's nice to take a break sometimes from the more high-stakes reads and relax. But at the same time, I find myself not caring at key moments, because I know it'll turn out alright. And I guess that's the risk of reading a low-stakes story when none of the characters particularly stand out. I also found the artwork to be okay. It's cute, but nothing to write home about. I found Felix's expressions to be quite samey, which I know it could be argued that's how he is, but I found myself wondering how he was feeling in some panels. There needs to be a way for the reader to discern that, especially if he's one of the main characters. I enjoyed the 3rd volume enough to make me want to read the next volume, so I guess my overall review is it's a nice enough read, but save it for when you want an easy read and don't want to invest a lot of time and emotion into something. Another new series I started was Cherry Blossoms After Winter by Bamboo. This was released by Inklaw, the same company that released Under the Oak Tree. It is full colour, and I have to say, the colouring in this volume was gorgeous. I've never seen anything like it before. Such soft hues in the background that really sets the scene, but without heaps of detail to distract you from the characters. Anyway, the story follows Haebum, who, due to a family tragedy, moves into his friend's house. It is just his friend and his mum in the house, and the friend is called Taesung, but instead of bringing them closer, it ruins their friendship. And we see the results of it as most of the story is actually set in their senior year of high school. For the first time they're in the same class, and you can see just how distant they are to each other. It's really sad, especially when we find out that Haebum has been bullied and has gone to great lengths to hide it from Taesung and his mum. I thought this volume was great. The art is great, the angst is perfect, and watching how Haebum and Taesung are around each other is brilliant. I loved it so much I have the 2nd volume on pre-order, which is out in April. I read volumes 17 to 19 of Yona of the Dawn. The first 2 were fantastic, as they end up in a situation where the dragons are ill, unable to fight at full strength, and they all end up in a fight, which very much feels like life and death. Normally the dragons are so strong, and when they have fought previously, I've always spent more time thinking how cool they are, as opposed to worrying about if they'll survive, but not in this volume. In my notes, I have literally written, F, it's a disaster. We learn more about Zeno, the yellow dragon, in these 2 volumes, and it is both wonderful and heartbreaking. We also get to know about the Crimson Dragon and the original 4 dragons, which was great and sad at the same time. Volume 19 was good. The focus was more on Sina and his lineage. It just didn't have quite the same impact after reading 17 and 18. It was a nice side story that told us more about Sinha and his kindness. And one of the things I really liked in this volume was Yona, and the fact that she acknowledges her father's flaws in reigning over the kingdom, and she looks to see what she can do to improve people's lives. Everyday people who don't really have a voice, and who the leaders don't necessarily look out for. The good news is that Riri is back, and in the 2nd half of this volume, with the Water Tribe's drug problem back, so I'm very much looking forward to reading more. I read A Business Proposal Volume 7 and I really enjoyed this volume. In this one, Che comes over to Korea and rumour is she used to date Taemu. So in the previous volume, Taemu got all jealous over Harry and now it's the other way round. I don't want to say much more because it will spoil the plot, but it's a lot of fun. There are some cute moments and laugh out loud moments. There's a fun bit in the middle, inconsequential to the plot really, where the company throws a sports competition with the workers all split up and Harry really wants to win the holiday prize for Taemu's upcoming birthday. Something happens at the end and I'm looking forward to see where the story goes. The wait isn't too long either, with volume 8 coming out in February. I started a new series called Semantic Error and I loved it. Sang-woo is a computer science major, and when his teammates fail to contribute to the group presentation, he doesn't include their names in the presentation. This leads to one of them in particular, Jae-young, to be very angry with Sang-woo because it means he cannot graduate and go study abroad like he planned to. And so it begins. Jae-young is going to be the biggest thorn in Sang-woo's side, ever. That's all I'm going to say about the plot because it's really good to read and see how everything unfolds after the setup. I am going to say something that is possibly very unpopular. Jae-young's reaction, I think, is ridiculous. He didn't turn up to lectures, failed to contribute to the presentation in any way, but still expected credit. I think not. If you knowingly do something wrong, you have to accept that the consequences may come and bite you on the rear. So right from the go I wasn't a massive fan of him, but then my dislike for him grew as the volume went on. His way of getting back at Sang-woo verges on cruel, I think anyway. There's been a lot of discussion online about Sang-woo being on the spectrum, and this definitely comes across in the manhwa with certain behaviours and how he interacts with others. So how Jae-young treats him really is awful, and the idea that he's getting revenge as if it's all Sang-woo's fault, even though he never went to class or contributed to the project, is, well, it makes me quite angry. I keep referring to how he's being treated because I don't want to go into specifics of what Jae-young is actually doing. It will ruin the story. The story's great, by the way. Just because I don't particularly like a character, please don't take that as me not liking the volume or the storytelling. Also, the art is great. It's really, really good, especially the background when Jae-young gets angry. I will definitely be ordering volume 2 in March. Another BL read was Nagahama To Be or Not To Be, which is a standalone. I absolutely loved this. I'm not usually a fan of standalones because they usually leave me feeling disappointed. I do like a fully fleshed out story, and that can be so hard to do in a single volume, although I have found some great standalones, for example Snow Fairy. So I held off on buying this until I read some reviews, and everyone seemed to be raving about it, so I went ahead and bought it. I'm so glad I did. The story is about Nagisa and Issa's changing friendship. Nagisa's best friend, Issa, has a passion for fish and works at the Nagahama fish market, and they often hang out together by the ocean. But when Nagisa thinks Issa has a girlfriend, his world is turned upside down. The highlight of this volume was their easy friendship and how naturally it seemed to change. I thought their interactions together were well thought out, no page was wasted, and it meant every moment together was building into something that never felt forced or surprising. Nagisa is quite mature in his thinking and willing to speak clearly about his feelings, and it made for a very nice change. It was full of cute moments, laugh out loud moments, and the art. I thought the art was fantastic. The eyes stood out to me, and when Issa gives Nagisa that look, oh my god, such a subtle expression drawn so well. Anyway, I'm going on a bit now, but I highly recommend this manga. I didn't realise that this mangaka also did Jealousy, so I may have to check that out too. The last volume I read in 2024 was very different to what I usually read. One More Step, Come Stand By My Side is full of short stories. Now, I'm not a massive fan of short stories, they're too short. But I got this on a whim because I loved the cover and people online were saying it was very good. There were 7 stories in total. My least favourite one was Nothing Wrong With That. It was fine, but it just didn't compare with the others. The first story was very good, about a kidnapped and blindfolded princess, where there is a silent caretaker with her. So it opened with a bang. The shortest story was only 4 pages long, but wow. I have to say, the skill required to create a 4-page long story that makes you feel so emotional. Hats off to Toriumon Takeda for that. And for all of these stories, to be honest, they're all really good and hit you in some way, whether it's a "oh my god, no way" or a "I've just been punched in the heart." The final story in the book, called My Wife Whom I Loved Dearly, seems to be one of her more famous ones, and it is good, really good, and devastating, because it's about the time a man has with his wife before she dies of cancer. Like I said, emotional stories that are well worth the read. So those are the last volumes I read in 2024. Whilst not many, I really enjoyed them, and I'm so glad I tried something new with the short stories volume. Let me know what you've read recently. Do you have any recommendations for me? Have you got any thoughts on these series? Let me know in the comments below. Happy reading, everyone. Bye!